Your brother deserved the new car. He actually visits, my dad said while handing me socks. I looked at the socks, cheap ones, not even wrapped, and smiled like the fool they always expected me to be. Cool, I said. Then he can pay your bills this month. Dad blinked. For a second, the smugness slipped off his face. But I didn't wait for a reply. I just turned, left the room, and drove back to my apartment, already dialing the utility company on speaker. That was the last family dinner I ever attended. I'm Daniel, 33. I live alone in a quiet part of Portland. Small tech job, nothing flashy, but enough to keep the lights on, including the lights at my parents' house, until yesterday. Because here's the thing no one ever tells you about being the responsible one. They don't actually respect you. They depend on you. Like a wrench they only reach for when something's broken. You're not the golden child. You're the emergency contact. The walking ATM. The silent backup plan. For me, it started years ago. Quietly. Subtly. First it was a phone bill. Then it was just a couple months of rent help for my mom's medication. Then, somehow, I was co-signing loans and fixing internet issues remotely while working my own full-time job. But this birthday dinner, it was supposed to be different. I hadn't seen them in months. I brought a bottle of wine and a gift for my mother. I'd even shaved. Tried to look family presentable, whatever that means. My younger brother, Josh, was already there. Of course. He always is. Never on time with rent. Never working more than part-time gigs. But somehow, he's always in the group selfies. Always the one Dad brags about at church. And now, he had a brand new hybrid SUV parked in the driveway. Gifted. By them. They said you live too far to make the drive for holidays, Josh had said with a smirk when I stepped inside. Guess you'll be flying solo again this year. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I waited for dinner. Waited through the awkward small talk, the unacknowledged Christmas cards I sent. Waited until my father stood up, raised his glass, and toasted to Josh for being the one who shows up. Then came the socks. A tight roll of discount wool pressed into my hand like a participation trophy. They're thermal, Dad said. You bike to work, right? Right. It wasn't the gift that hurt. It was the math behind it. I pay half their mortgage. I cover their phone plans. I once wired money at 3 a.m. from a hotel bathroom during a work trip because Mom said the heater broke and they couldn't sleep in the cold. And still, somehow, I was the invisible one. Until I smiled, walked out, and made a call. The next morning, their lights went out. And that's where this story really begins. They called me exactly 13 hours after the blackout. First Mom, then Dad, then Josh. Missed calls, voicemails, even a shaky video of their kitchen in the dark, candles flickering in the background like they were auditioning for a seance. I didn't answer. Because what they didn't realize, what they never bothered to realize, was that the power, the gas, the water, had all been in my name since 2020. COVID hit, Dad lost hours, Josh moved temporarily back home, and I stepped in for a few months. Months turned into years, and no one ever asked when I planned to stop. Until I did. The second the utilities company confirmed it was all shut down, I sat back in my chair, cracked a soda, and watched my inbox fill with panic. Texts like, "You could have warned us. Your mother's cold, Daniel. Is that what you want? You're acting out over socks?" That last one was Josh. He even threw in a laughing emoji. So I screenshotted it, just to remember the tone. Then came the group chat message. Mom added me back in after months of silence. Family first, group. Mom, can we just talk like adults? Dad, you've made your point. Josh, dude, seriously. Grow up. Mom, you can't just cut off your family. That's not love. Me, you're right. It's not love. It's survival. Then I left the chat again. For good. Let me be clear. This didn't start with the socks. It didn't even start with the car. That was just the spark. The gas had been leaking for years. The gas looked like this. I paid off Josh's gambling debt in 2021. $3,000. Just this once, man, he said. Then I found out he used part of the money for concert tickets. I replaced Dad's laptop after he spilled whiskey on it. No, thank you. Just a passive-aggressive comment about how it wasn't a Mac. I helped Mom get her dental surgery, $6,000, only to find out she'd told her church friends she covered it herself after some tight budgeting. And when I lost my job for 2 months during company restructuring, not a single call, not even a "how are you holding up?" I didn't say anything back then. I just kept paying the bills, kept sending money just until tax season, kept telling myself that maybe they were just stressed. But now they were cold, hungry, and confused. And I wasn't lifting a finger. Until the Facebook post. 2 days after the blackout, Josh posted a story. A picture of him and Dad standing outside the new SUV, smiling like nothing happened. Caption: still standing. Still family. Some people are just bitter. I didn't screenshot that one. I downloaded it. Because this wasn't just ignorance anymore. This was warfare. So I went digging. And I didn't have to dig far. My father, Mr. I pay my dues, had been quietly siphoning money from a joint checking account I opened back when they couldn't figure out online banking. Not much. Little by little. 40 here. 90 there. But it added up. $3,284.61, to be exact. And you know how I found out? Because he accidentally sent a $600 wire from it to a car parts dealer, under Josh's name. The same week he told me he was barely getting by. That's when I knew I needed receipts. So I printed everything. The bank transfers. The utility bills. The Venmo logs where Josh sent his girlfriend $500 with the note. For the cabin. A cabin I wasn't invited to. But that wasn't all. A month earlier, I'd helped my cousin Lily fix her Wi-Fi. She works in IT security. I told her it was just a casual job. She owed me a favor. I asked her to check if anything weird had happened under my name in the last year. She found 2 things. Someone tried to open a credit card using my social. That someone had submitted a request to change the billing address tied to the family internet. Guess where? Josh's name. Dad's signature. Mom's phone number listed as backup. I wasn't mad. Not anymore. I was focused. Because if they wanted to play this dirty, I could play smarter. So I put together a digital folder. I called it The Cost of Blood. Inside, bank statements, screenshots of Josh mocking me in texts, emails from Dad asking for discreet help, recordings of Mom saying, well, you're doing better than your brother. You can afford to help. Photos of the birthday dinner table, my chair empty. Then I sent it to myself. BCC'd it to 3 trusted people. Backed it up twice, USB and cloud. I wasn't going to publish it. Not yet. First, I needed to make sure they saw it coming. So when the house lost heat completely because the gas was off and the landlord refused to fix the broken furnace without payment, they had no choice but to call me again. And this time, I answered. Dad's voice was tight, controlled. He started with, Daniel, I think we've all overreacted. I didn't say a word. He continued. It's just been a tough winter. Your brother, he's been going through some things. He's trying his best. That's when I said, good. Then he can pay your bills this month. He paused, then asked, what do you want from us? I replied calmly, nothing. I'm just returning the favor. You treated me like a backup plan. I'm treating you like a footnote. Then I hung up. That night, I logged in and started something new. A blog. Title: My family gave my brother a car and me a pair of socks, so I shut off the power. Tagline: A guide to setting boundaries when love is a one-way transaction. It wasn't revenge. It was release. And they hadn't even seen the worst of it yet. I showed up at my mom's birthday dinner at exactly 6 p.m. Nothing fancy in my hands. Just a cheap bottle of wine and a plain white envelope. No announcement. No warning. They didn't expect me. After everything that had happened, they probably assumed I was out of the picture for good. But I wasn't there for reconciliation. I was there to end things properly, to make sure they saw what losing me really looked like. Dad opened the door with a face like he'd just seen an audit notice. What are you doing here? He asked flatly. I smiled. Celebrating Mom. Or was that invitation just for real family again? He stepped aside, stiff. No hug. No small talk. The living room was full. Mom, Josh, even cousin Elise, who always giggled when someone else got humiliated. The table was set. Decorations were up. It looked normal. For now. I placed the envelope gently in the center of the table. Josh squinted at it. What's that? Some things I found, I said calmly. Thought we should all have a look. Inside were 3 documents. A credit card application in my name. Signed. Approved. Dated 2 months ago. My name. Not my signature. An order confirmation for a $1,200 smartphone shipped to Josh's address, billed to my card. A printout of an email from Mom's Gmail, left logged into my iPad during last Christmas. It said, Dan always pays. He won't even notice. Dad snatched the envelope and started fumbling through the papers, mumbling something about misunderstandings. Oh, come on, I said. What are the odds all 3 of these mistakes happen to benefit you? Mom stood up. We were struggling. You used to help. What changed? I met her eyes. I stopped pretending this was family. That's what changed. Then I slid another sheet across the table. A screenshot from my bank, courtesy of an old coworker at the branch I used to manage. $600 wire transfer to a car parts store under Josh's name. From my account. Josh turned pale. I thought it was your backup card, he stammered. I was going to pay it back. When? Before or after you bought that PlayStation? He shut up. Mom sat down like her legs gave out. Dad stared, jaw tight, fists clenched on the table like he still thought he had the upper hand. He didn't. I pulled out my phone. You recognize this number? It was Mom's. I hit play on a voicemail to my insurance provider, where she pretended to be me. She was trying to update my policy, add new prescriptions, change the address, even add Josh as a dependent. I looked at her. You didn't think I'd notice? She shook her head, silent. And you? I turned to Dad. Still want to tell me you haven't touched that joint account? No answer. Then Josh finally exploded. This is insane. You're blowing up the family over some bills and a phone? Seriously? No, I said. I'm blowing it up because of the years you pretended I was just a resource. You lied. You stole. And now you're offended, I noticed. I pulled out one last document. It wasn't even official, just a handwritten note. A checklist. From their kitchen. Titled, Ways to Reduce Dependency on Daniel. It had 5 bullet points. Number 3. Start moving bills to his name slowly. He won't notice. Silence fell over the room. Cold and dense. No one said anything. Josh walked out to the balcony. Mom covered her face. Dad just stared at the wall like it might offer an escape. Then Dad looked at me, voice low. You trying to destroy us? I stepped closer, calm and slow. You destroyed me. Piece by piece. Bill by bill. Lie by lie. I'm just returning the favor. All at once. I turned and walked to the door. Hand on the knob, I paused. Oh, and keep the socks, Dad. You're going to need something warm when the rest of the bills come due. And then I walked out. I didn't go home after the dinner. I didn't even go to my apartment. I drove. No GPS. No destination. Just the open freeway and the kind of silence you only get when something big inside you finally dies. I ended up in a motel 2 towns over. Someplace with flickering lights and too much bleach in the sheets. But it felt cleaner than anything I'd just left behind. The next morning, my phone was a graveyard of notifications. 36 missed calls. 12 voicemails. 3 blocked numbers. And 1 text from Josh that simply said, "This isn't over." He was right. It wasn't. Not even close. 3 days later, the real consequences began. Mom emailed me. She never used to email, asking if I had contacted the credit bureau. Said something about her card getting frozen. I didn't respond. That same evening, I got a call from my former landlord. Apparently, someone pretending to be me had called to ask about lease records. When the landlord asked for ID, the caller hung up. Sloppy, desperate, expected. So I took the next step. A month before all this, I had started compiling paperwork for something I didn't think I'd actually go through with. Removing myself from all co-signed financial responsibilities tied to my family. I finished that process in a single weekend. I contacted the bank and revoked all shared authorizations. I closed the backup account Dad had quietly funneled his overdue utility bills through. I canceled the auto pay on their internet and electricity, again. Then I reached out to my accountant. There was a trust. Not much, a few bonds, some small investments I'd made years ago when I still thought about retirement. And up until now, my family had been listed as secondary beneficiaries. That changed. Now, every cent was locked to an anonymous charity fund. Cancer research, disaster relief, student scholarships, strangers who had never stolen from me. It felt poetic. They took my love for granted. So now, strangers would take my money instead. The fallout came in waves. 2 weeks after the birthday dinner, I got a call from a friend who still worked at the pharmacy where Mom used to fill her prescriptions. He sounded uneasy. "Dan, did you really cancel her insurance?" "No," I said. "I just stopped paying for the one that covered her. She'd have to get her own now. Like an adult." But the real storm came when the landlord, their landlord, called me. Not out of courtesy, out of necessity. "Daniel," he said, "I hate to involve you, but your name is still on the lease." Or it was. Until that call. Within 2 days, I filed a formal withdrawal and sent him copies of everything. Proof of their income, missed rent payments, utilities unpaid for over 3 months. He was stunned. They always talk like you were helping them voluntarily, he said. I laughed. No, they talked like I didn't have a choice. 3 days later, I got a Facebook message from Elise, the cousin who used to laugh at my shirts and call me Dan the doormat. She wasn't laughing anymore. She sent a screenshot of a group chat I wasn't in. Josh had posted a photo of his car. Selling this week. Need cash. Message me. Underneath were replies like, what happened to the job? Thought your bro paid for everything? Then one from Elise herself. Guess the bank of Daniel closed. I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen. Let them turn on each other. But the most satisfying part? The voicemail from Dad. It came at 2:13 a.m. His voice sounded like sandpaper and whiskey. Daniel, he slurred, you think you're some kind of hero now? You think you can just erase blood? That you get to walk away like some righteous victim? He paused. Then came the line that told me everything. You were supposed to stay broken. That was it. That was the whole truth. I wasn't a son to them. I was a resource, useful so long as I stayed small, quiet, obedient. But now I was fireproof. I moved within the month. Not just to a new apartment, to a new city. Clean slate. No forwarding address. My new lease was under an alias. I even set up my utilities through a third-party provider that masked ownership. I wasn't hiding. I was protecting. I bought a second phone. The original one I left powered off in a drawer, a grave for every contact who ever saw me as a tool instead of a person. And just because I couldn't resist one last touch. I mailed a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It went to their house. Inside was a copy of the lease termination. And a sticky note with 5 words. Find a new safety net. I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. They'd know. Weeks passed. Then months. And silence, real, uninterrupted silence, became my new normal. No sudden calls. No emergencies. No passive-aggressive birthday reminders asking for just a small loan to cover groceries. Just me. My work. My place. My rules. And it turns out, that kind of peace is louder than revenge will ever be. It's been 6 months. 6 months since I walked out of that house with nothing but a folded envelope and the kind of silence that doesn't leave room for return. And in that time, I've learned something no therapist, no article, no half-hearted family reconciliation ever teaches you. Closure isn't soft. It's not forgiveness. It's not some warm hug in a rehab kitchen. Closure is cold, precise, sharp like glass when it finally shatters in your hand, and you stop pretending it was ever whole to begin with. They still try sometimes. Not Mom. Not directly. She's too proud for that. But I've seen the breadcrumbs. A friend from high school sent me a screenshot of a new Facebook post. A blurry photo of a half-lit living room. The caption. Sometimes the people you raised forget who raised them. Vague. Petty. Transparent. Underneath it, Josh liked the post. Then commented. Some people only show up when the lights are on. I almost laughed. Last I heard, his lights were still off. They think I'll blink first. They think I'm still that same version of me who once drove 3 hours to drop off Dad's blood pressure meds, the same meds he later joked about not needing, because stress doesn't touch real men. They think I'll cave. That I'll send a text. An email. A week. Hey, hope you're okay, just to test the water. But here's the truth. I'm not thirsty anymore. I built a new life. A new apartment with white walls and dark floors. A bookshelf that holds only what I choose. A quiet coffee shop 2 blocks away where they know my name but not my past. My fridge is full. My bills are mine. And when my phone rings, it's only people I choose to keep. Not once, not for a second, have I missed being someone's backup plan. They lost more than me. They lost the illusion of control. The sweet comfort of always having someone in the wings to clean up the wreckage. Now, they're their own janitors. And it's messy. Word got around. My aunt called, the one who used to giggle when Dad told stories about my failure to launch. She said, I didn't know it was that bad. If you just said something. I hung up mid-sentence. She knew. They all did. But laughing is easier than helping. The last time I heard from Dad was through a letter. A real one. Blue ink. Crooked cursive. It was 3 pages of nonsense. Talk of legacy. Of bloodlines. Of how we all make mistakes and how there's still time to put things back together. I read it once, then tore it into pieces, then mailed those pieces back, 1 per envelope. No return address. He sent another one, shorter, angrier. You'll regret this. You're still my son whether you like it or not. So I sent him a final response. A single sentence, typed in bold font on a white page. I was never yours. I was just useful. I haven't heard from him since. I changed my number last week. New SIM. New contacts. Anyone who made me feel like a wallet with a heartbeat didn't get the update. I didn't post about it. Didn't make a scene. I just left them behind like bad furniture. But I did leave a little message. Not for them, for me. I bought a new doormat for my apartment. Simple. Clean. Black letters on a gray background. Not your emergency exit. And that's the real ending. Not a dramatic scene. Not a final screen. Just peace. Not the peace that comes from resolution, the peace that comes from distance. Because sometimes healing isn't a reunion. Sometimes it's a door that locks from the inside. And sometimes, the most explosive thing you can do is never walk back through it.